Okay, we're here at the 65 gallon after the frag swap. I'm going to go ahead and walk through my process of getting these frags into their kind of final destination where I kind of want them. I want to be making a little frag island down here for my Zoas. You can see I have a little island already. I'm going to take some from over here, kind of just group them all together. I'll glue all those together into one kind of cohesive unit. And then I'm going to take these smaller corals here and put them where I think is best. And I'll show you kind of how I deal with the frag plugs as best I can as well. I'm going to be using some Reef glue. I got this at the Petco, something like that. This is supposed to be really thick. It's quote-unquote 17 times thicker formula. So we will be using this to try to get all this stuff together in the tank. And we'll see how it goes. All right, guys, this is the rotary tool that I will be using to cut the bottoms of the frag plugs. That way I can glue the bases directly to the rocks. I'll be using the diamond blade attachment, and this it works really well for cutting those. And then you can also kind of grind them down a little bit to get any of the bits that you missed. Sometimes this screw makes you have to take an angled approach, and then you can just scrape the bottom of the frag plug flat. That way you can get a nice adherent glue glob so you can put it on the rock work and it'll actually stay in place for you. And it'll be a little less unsightly than having that stinking little frag plug sticking out of the bottom as well. My preferred method for the frag plugs would actually be just simply popping the corals off. So I have just your standard razor, and this I can just take the base of the coral on the frag plug, pop it up a little bit, and that way I can just have the little coral chunks to glue those directly to the rockwork. But sometimes when those frag plugs get encrusted, I like to preserve as much of the coral that's already there. A lot of people think that's a little unsightly, but I don't really mind it, so it's a user preference, whatever you prefer. If you prefer getting as much of that coral off as you can, maybe use this a little more aggressively, or just, simply chop it off at, kind of the head and just simply glue the coral down. If you're not too, concerned about losing too much of your coral, I just like to preserve as much of mine as I can. Okay, so I went ahead and I removed some of these frag plugs just by popping them off. This one was this guy right here. I went ahead and popped off and then cut a little bit of the cyanoacrylate off so I can go ahead and re-glue it to my rockwork where I want it without that ugly frag plug. Same with the goni. If this would just focus, this is kind of just cut into place there. These are going to have the frag plugs just because I didn't really want to mess up the coral taking them off or scraping them off. So these will kind of be placed in there with these little plugs on them, and you'll kind of see that here in just a minute. I've kind of picked out little spots for them. So what I'm going to do is just dab a little bit of glue on the bottom. Be real careful with this, by the way. Make sure you have paper towels and stuff because it is kind of really, really messy, and you don't want to get it on anything you don't want to ruin. So I'll put a little dab of glue underneath these things and then stick them where I want them, and you'll see that here in just a minute. I'll show you the final product since I really can't do this one-handed. Okay, here I am after I've glued all the plugs. I'm going to walk through them here with you. This is the little zoo island. It's kind of broken up into 3 separate parts, 1, 2, 3. But I went ahead and put these here because these zoos, once they carpet out, I don't really want them covering more rock work than I think is necessary. So I did disturb a lot of debris in the tank. It's not really that clear. These guys are still pretty mad, but hopefully they'll be opening up before you know it. I'll shoot an update some other time. This is one of the corals. I cut the bottom of the frag plug flat with a Dremel, and then I just glued this here on its plug. Same thing with this guy up here. I cut that frag flat and then just glued him to the plug. I really didn't want to disturb too much more of the coral than I had to. And then this little Applejack's guy back there. If you can see, I went ahead and I glued his base. I just popped him off the old frag plug and kind of glued him straight to the rock back there. Same thing with this guy that I got the other day, a couple weeks ago from Cherry Corals. I cut his frag plug flat, and then I went ahead and I just glued him to that rock back there. So he's kind of in a good spot to get some premium light, and he'll be able to grow into that spot really nicely. I went ahead and I put my old Cyphastria over here. He was kind of shaded for a while down in the sumps, or down in the stock tank in the basement before I brought him up here. So I think this will be a good spot. The clam kind of shelters him from the brunt of the light, and he just gets reflective par. So my guess is he gets maybe less than 100 par down here, and that'll be good for him. I think that's pretty much all the corals I had to cover with you that I got from, oh yeah, I also forgot about the goni. So I put him right here. He'll get good flow there, but he won't get like terribly abrasive flow there. So I think that'll be a good spot. If not, I'll just have to pop him up and put him elsewhere in the tank. But when these guys are going 4,000 gallons per hour per side, it gets kind of hectic in there. So I think that's a good sheltered spot for them. I'll give you a little update here in a couple of days to see how everything's doing, but that's basically my process that I use to put my corals kind of where I want them after they get settled in.